You know how sometimes customers change their mind after we've completed a design? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video, is how to make some necessary changes when a customer changes their mind. Now, this particular example was done for a friend of mine who was just wanting to make a shirt for her grandson, but more importantly to her was to understand the process because she wasn't really that familiar, have that much experience with creating heat press, multi-layer heat press vinyl applications. Whether you're doing a duffel bag or a t-shirt or whatever, it's important to understand the process, and that's what she really wanted to learn, and in the process make a nice gift for her grandson. So what we did was, in part 1 and 2, we actually created a 4-color design, and now she wants to complicate matters. Why? I don't know, but this will be a teachable moment to understand the different process we have to go through to rework the artwork to make the changes that she's asking for. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and make a duplicate of the original design we did in part 1 and part 2. And I'm just going to select it, and as I pull it down to the right, when I hold my shift key down, you'll see it snap right below, so it's a basically perfect up and down. So when you have the shift key selected, you can only move your design up or down or left or right, which is actually quite useful. And then to make a duplicate, just right click on the mouse and let go. And now that you'll have created a duplicate. So let's look at the design as it sits right now. So what we're going to do here, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We're going to put this, actually I have to ungroup it here. So we're going to take this black and set it right on top of the white. Then the red is going to go right on top of the black. And blue is going to go right on top of the red. And then we're going to delete the extra weed boxes. That is the finished design. Now, the average 7 or 8-year-old, they're going to be in love with that, right? But again, this is really more about learning more than anything. And so what we want to do is make a couple of changes. She wants the buttons to be yellow, and she wants the face to be beige to make it look a little bit more like the original design was. If you look at the original design here, you can see the face is kind of beige and the buttons are yellow. Now, it seems like an easy request, and technically speaking it is, but it actually poses a couple of challenges, and we're going to show you how to take care of those challenges. So let's go ahead and make a duplicate of the original again. I always like to work on duplicates. I make lots and lots of duplicates, and just in case I have to go backwards. Alright, so then let's go ahead and take our black outline. This is what's going to give us all the pieces that we need here. So we're going to use the Smart Fill tool here in CorelDRAW. And this, I believe it came available in X4. Might have been in X3 too, I don't know. I don't remember that far back. But the Smart Fill tool is actually a really wonderful tool because we already have the area of the face completely enclosed. So anytime I click inside this open area of the face, it will actually create a new shape for me. Let's go ahead and fill it with a beige color. So that gives us our shape that we need. Our extra cut piece. But if you remember in the previous part 2, when we were reworking the artwork for vinyl cut, right now the black outline and the face is sharing the exact same boundary. And we actually need the fill, this fill piece that we're going to cut out for the face, we actually need it to slightly overlap our black outline. So what we're going to do here is grab your interactive contour tool and come into the face and click and drag. See that contour line to the inside? We just want a little bit of overlap. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to right click and we're going to choose the break contour group apart. Now, here's what I want to show you. Right now, underneath our face, the black is transparent. What we need to do is make it solid. All right. And there are a variety of ways to do this, and I think the easiest way to do it is just to double click on our black outline. That brings us into the shape edit tool, and see these nodes that are right along our face line? We need to delete those. So careful what you're doing here, but go in and delete all those border nodes. Now we're editing, not the face, we're editing the black outline, okay? So just be careful when you're coming in that you are deleting the nodes of the black outline, not the nodes of the face object. Okay? And what we're going to do is make our face, where our face is, we're going to make the black solid. That's what our objective is here. So we just have to very carefully go all the way around. Anywhere where black meets the face piece that we just created with that Smart Fill tool, we're going to delete it. Anything else we're going to leave just as it is. So be careful. You can always use undo if you screw it up, which I'm known to do. Just follow that face around anywhere there's a border. See how there's a border right here? Boom, both of those are gone. Border right there, gone. Gone, gone at the border. Gone at the border, gone at the border. Here's another border. Couple more here. All right, now there's also like an inner border too around the eye here. So we're gonna have to delete that too. Because right now you got a black eye. And when we delete enough nodes, pretty soon he won't have a black eye. Okay. So now we have it the way we want it. Okay. So now if we take a look at the outline, see, he has totally black face now. And that's what we want, because we're going to take this piece that we contoured to the inside of our face object. We're going to take that piece along with our original outline and trim. And now if we delete our face piece, visually we have what we want, but watch what happens when I double click on my outline. See how that outline is just a little bit to the inside of my face? So we're going to lay down our black, and then when we lay down our face piece on top of the black, it's going to cover it up just a little bit. And that's what we want. And if you remember back to part 2, when we were working with our red and our blue, we did basically the exact same thing. Now, where the fun part comes into play are these pesky buttons. And the reason that they're a little bit challenging is because we're going to put black down first. Then we're going to put yellow on top of that. But you see these little crescent shapes here? We need those to be on top of the yellow, or at least appear as though they're on top of the yellow. Well, if we're going to put black down first, how do we make these crescents appear as though they are on top of yellow? And it's really not that difficult to do, but let's go ahead and show you how it's going to work. So what we're going to do first of all is we need to create some buttons. So the way we're going to do that is with our Smart Fill tool. Just click, click, right? That's easy. We're going to make sure there's no outline. Fill it with yellow. We're going to make sure there's no outline and fill it with yellow. And I make sure there's no outline by just right-clicking on this little X. That gets rid of any outline if there was one. All right, so now we need to do kind of the same thing that we did with the face. So what we're going to do is grab this, grab our interactive contour tool, and make this a little bit smaller. Something like that, right? Just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. In fact, what we could do is we could click on this one, and then we can choose copy from this one. And now we've offset that the exact same amount. Okay. So then what we'll do is we're going to take and break our contour group apart. Break the contour group apart. And right now, let's just take a look at this. Right now, there's our yellow piece. I don't know. So that is our yellow button. Notice that it has a hole cut out where the crescent was because of the way we use that Smart Fill tool. This is the piece that we contoured. I'm going to right click. Oh, it looks like I already broke the contour group apart. See that little sliver? I need to get rid of that. So let's just get rid of that little sliver. Go ahead and delete that. So just like with our face, we're going to double click on our outline. Anywhere where the black outline is intersecting or matching up to the button, we're going to get rid of it. Okay. So now, where the button is, solid. Okay? So now we're going to take that contour piece and the original black outline, and we're going to trim. So now I can delete that piece. And now you can see solid, right? Just that piece right there. Now the crescent we don't actually need anymore. There's a little crescent shape that we don't need anymore. Visually it looks exactly right, but if I double click on my black outline, you can see better what's happening. We laid down the black. Our button is going to sit on top of our black. Our button has a cutout to give us this crescent shape, and the black outline has black underneath that cutout, so it appears as though that little highlight is sitting on top of the button. That's basically what we're doing. So now this one is kind of the same thing. So we're just double click on the black outline. We're going to delete that outline. Okay. So again, underneath that button is going to be completely solid. See that? It looks like there's actually an extra node there. So let's see if we can, let's see here. Oh, okay, that's the original crescent shape, which we can go ahead and delete that. But here, so now it's completely black under there, right? So again, we're going to take this shape that we created, and this little piece down here, we can probably go ahead and delete that. We don't need that anymore. And, you know, if we want to, we could bring this back, and, you know, we could change that however we wanted to if we didn't want this little pointy piece. Whatever you wanted to do. I think it's just fine just the way it is, though. So we'll go ahead and select that piece. That will be the piece that we're going to trim our original black outline. Trim. And so now, visually, everything looks exactly the way it's supposed to. But watch what happens when I double click on our black outline again. You can see how that black outline, the yellow button, is just going to slightly sit on top. And you can also see, because the button has this crescent shape cut out of it and there's black below, it's going to appear as though this highlight is sitting on top of the button. And that's really all there is to it. Now, you probably are like, what? So watch it a couple of times, okay? And I think you'll get it easy enough. So let's go ahead and delete the black outline for the beige and the yellow buttons. Let's delete the black outline here and the beige. And so now this is what we're left with. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take everything. And let's go ahead and I'll tell you what, I'm just going to duplicate this. And I'm going to build this for you so you can see what the finished product looks like. So black, then red. And because I have a weed box, the same weed box around every stage, that's what we use for alignment. So then we'll lay down the beige there, and then the yellow. Now you might be wondering, what type of material do we use for our heat press applications? And I will put a link in the video description as well. But we use the Echo Film from imprintables.com, and I will put a link to the website in the description. I'm going to go ahead and delete the extra weed boxes that we don't need. Echo Film weeds very well. It cuts very well. The thing I like about the Echo Film is in between colors, and especially in this case we have many colors. In between colors, you literally just have to tap the heat. I mean, only a second or 2 seconds, and that's enough to get the heat press material to release from the liner. So for white would just be a 2-second press, black would be a 2-second press, red's a 2-second press, blue is a 2-second press, beige is a 2-second press, and finally yellow is a full dwell. You know, probably a full 15-20 seconds. And so that's what I like, is the in-between colors. It just a second or two is all it takes, and it's a hot peel, so it peels right away. So it doesn't take very long to produce your t-shirts. So if you're doing a multicolor design like this, where you're using many colors, really five, what are we using here? 5 colors is actually kind of a lot for a typical heat press t-shirt application. But because this is a one-off shirt, obviously that's probably the most cost-effective way to go about doing it. So anyhow, that is the process, and of course you can see the finished design. Real cute design, looks great, and hopefully her grandson will love all the hard work it took to make this little guy. Thanks for watching.